up, guys? It is your girl Lauren here, and welcome back to another video. I am hopping into today's topic because it is one that I am very passionate about filming today, and it is my 5 essential tips to start your plant journey successfully. Maybe you are someone that has a couple of plants in your collection right now. You put some feelers out there to see A, if you even liked plants, and B, if you had the means to take care of it. Maybe you're someone that is just diving in and you're confident and you know nothing about plants, but you are doing your due diligence to research, and maybe you came across this video. If one of those two people are you, or you're somewhere in between, thank you for clicking in, and I am so excited that you guys are about to start your plant journey. I got inspiration for this video about 2 months ago, so kind of when the new year first started. I was reflecting a lot, just late night, being surrounded by my plants and thinking how far I've come. And then I started thinking about how I started and all the stuff that I did wrong. And of course, I ultimately don't regret it because it got me to the point where I am now. But if I can help shed light on some mistakes that I did in the beginning to help you guys in your journey, then that is why I am here today. So let's get going. Before I get into the 5 tips, I am on my journey to 1,000 subscribers. So if you like this topic or if you like my content, please subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, and let's get going. I do have all my notes right here, so I will be referencing it. I do have them in kind of an order, a list that makes sense to me, but of course these could really go in any order. So take the information that I say, let it absorb, let it resonate with you, and do it as you see fit in the order that makes sense to you. So let's get going with the first tip that I have, and it is to get involved in the plant community by joining Facebook groups. I did not think to do this until 3 or 4 months into my plant journey, and I'm like, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I not think of this sooner? If you are a beginner, joining Facebook groups are a great way, again, like I said, to get involved with the plant community, whether it be on a local level, your country, around the world even. And a lot of these groups have a great knowledge bank of information that you can tap into as a beginner. There are many discussion forums and topics on watering, lighting, humidity, the best nurseries to go to around the area that you live in, and it is so great. You could even meet some planty friends like I have, and I highly recommend joining Facebook groups. Now, I will say this with a huge caveat, so please proceed with caution on this one. If you can, please avoid joining BST groups, buy sell trade groups. Now, I'm not hating on them. I purchase a lot of my plants through these Facebook groups. I love knowing that I'm supporting small plant business owners out there, and they're great, they are, but a lot of the BST groups you find on Facebook are about the commercially uncommon and rare plants. So if you are a beginner, it's not the best thing to jump into, because usually those plants we know are expensive, and it's not a great way to set yourself up for financial success. You can see those plant prices that are usually in the triple digits, sometimes in the 4 digits. It could really stress you out. Also, seeing the numerous plant purges and auctions every single day, it can have a beginner feel discouraged and get the wrong idea of plants. So I highly encourage you guys, if you can, to stray away from those in the beginning. I'm speaking from experience here because when I first joined Facebook groups, I started it late in my plant journey, and I immediately went to the BST groups, and I kept participating in purges and auctions. My money was, going down a rabbit hole. So if you can, I encourage you to stay away from those for the time being. There are a lot of groups that sometimes intertwine, but for some groups, that's not the case at all. Some are purely for education, sharing your plant babies. I'm a part of the Philodendron Enthusiasts Facebook group, and there are no purges or auctions that I've seen ever on those groups. The houseplant hobbyist groups are really good as well, so join those if you can, and that is a great access point to get into your plant hobby. Okay, now we are on to the second tip, and this is one that is really special to me. I'm super passionate about this one. I'm smiling just thinking about it and the fond memories that it brings, and it is to watch nursery tours. The great thing about watching nursery tours is that it grows your knowledge. It gets you accustomed to the different plant varieties that are out there on the market. I remember when I started watching nursery tours, I started learning about ZZs, Sansevierias, Peperomias, Pothos, Dracaenas, you name it. And I saw before my eyes my knowledge just growing, my passion growing. I was immersed in all this new information and learning the sub-varieties within that species, and it was so amazing, which leads me to my second point. It gets you excited. It gets you hyped up. There is nothing like the feeling of starting something new. It's exciting, and that kind of beginner honeymoon stage is absolutely incredible. I would watch these nursery tours just for hours and hours. The third reason why I love watching nursery tours is because it gets you accustomed to the varieties that you like and that you gravitate towards, that make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. I, for instance, respect Dracaenas. I think they're a beautiful plant. It's just not a species that I gravitate towards, but you guys know me. I love my philodendrons. I remember when I did my very first nursery tour video, which is a throwback. It is Buchanan's Native Plants. I got your standard Hartley philodendron, a philodendron heteroecium. And that just started my absolute love for philodendrons. And now I have like 18 different varieties. It's crazy, right? So when you watch these types of videos, I remember watching Jolene Foliage a lot when I first started out, you'll see what catches your eye. And I really love it for that reason. And the last reason why I love watching nursery tours is because, of course, it gives you an idea of how much plants actually cost, which will give you an idea on how to budget properly for them, which I will get into. Usually with commercially common plants, and of course depending on the species and the size, they can go anywhere from $8 to $30. So it really gives you an idea how much a Sansevieria costs if you specifically love Sansevierias, So it's a really great tool for you to understand what type of plants you like, what's out there in the market, the prices for them, and overall just making you so excited for this journey. Now, tip number 2 segues perfect into tip number 3, that now that you've watched all those nursery tours, now it's time to visit your local nurseries. Now, it's perfectly okay to visit your big box stores, your Home Depots, your Lowe's, your Walmart. I, of course, have purchased plants from there when I first started. But if you can, I really encourage you to visit your local nurseries. I love supporting local, shop small businesses. That is just something I am passionate about. And there are many different added benefits to visiting your local nurseries as well. A huge thing is that you can get acquainted to the different staff, workers, and the owners, and they can give you some really great tips. I remember when I visited Tall Plants, I actually met the owner, and he told me when they usually get their shipments and what day and what time is usually the best to go. So that was really cool. And of course, when I went to visit Zone 9 Tropicals, I met the owner too. I met Wayne, and he let me have a private tour of his greenhouse section that is secluded from the public, and it was an aroid dream. An aroid lover's dream. That's what I meant to say. So that is a great reason why to visit your local nurseries. Besides shopping local, getting acquainted with the plant community, you also learn so much. Okay, tip number 4. I hope that I'm doing pretty well with timing, because you guys know I talk a lot and I am really excited, so maybe I'm talking really fast in this video. So if I am, sorry guys, I'm just really hype. But with this 4th tip, I am going to spend some time talking about it to you guys, and it is to make a budget. Please guys, make a budget. If you're starting out your plant hobby, I'm not saying that this hobby has to be expensive, but it can get expensive really fast, and you can go down a rabbit hole really fast if you don't put yourself in check and make a budget. Now, there's several different categories that this encompasses, so let's just start talking about plants first. Of course, right? You need to have plants if you're going to start this hobby. Now, let's say you join the Facebook groups, you've watched the nursery tours, and you want to visit your local nurseries. Again, the tips that I'm saying, take them in whatever order seems best for you. But now you have to figure out how many plants you can afford. So usually, and I may have mentioned this already, that depending on the plant variety and the size of the plant, you're looking anywhere from spending $10 to $30 on a plant. And so for convenience, let's just do that as a $20 average for one plant. Now, if you want to get 7 or 8 plants, which is a really nice start of a collection, you're talking about $150, right? Of course, it could be more or less, but $150. So you would want to save up for that, right? You want to save up that money, so when you go to your plant nursery, you don't have to stress out about it. You can just pick the beautiful plant babies that mean the most to you. After buying your beautiful plant babies, you have them now in your home, and now you have to think about next steps, and you have to think about the different tools and necessities that you will need to take care of your plant babies. So I have a couple of different categories underneath this umbrella. So the first category, now that you have your plants, is for plant tools and necessities. The first thing you need is a watering can, guys. Now, of course, you can just get a cup, fill it with water. But if you're really passionate about this hobby and you have several plants anyway, it's best to get a watering can. With cups, it's very hard to control the amount of water you pour if you're heavy-handed, and with watering cans, it disperses an even stream of water around your plants. So definitely get a watering can. They can be anywhere from like $8 to $50, depending on how bougie you want to get, so a watering can. The next thing that I think is really important is fertilizer. Of course, depending on when you buy your plants, the amount of fertilizer varies. If you are buying your plants in the winter for some reason, of course you sparingly have to fertilize, or you don't have to fertilize at all, depending on your location. But if you are buying your plants in the spring and summer, it is prime time fertilizing, so you need to be prepared for that. Now, I don't want to go too deep into fertilizer. If you guys want me to make a video about this or a whole like beginner plant series, I can definitely do so. You can get worm castings as organic fertilizer or liquid fertilizer, just depending on what you feel the most comfortable with, but fertilizer is a must. The next thing, and this is optional, I love this product, so I am pro moisture meters. If you are a beginner, you usually are really what's the right word? You're really concerned with watering, rightfully so, because that's how your plants thrive. That's how your plants grow. They need water, of course, and it can be a stressful topic for a lot of plant hobbyists. So if that is you and you're really nervous about watering, get a moisture meter. They're usually around $12, so it's very cost friendly. Let's see. Okay, so the next 5 products I think are 100% necessities, and they fall within the pest control area. And I preach this, and if you're new here, I'll say it again. Pest control and preventative maintenance is not an option. They are not an option. I wonder if that was correct grammar or not. Pest control and preventative maintenance are not an option. Sorry for the grammar, but they're honestly not. They're honestly not, guys, because if you have a pest outbreak, especially in the beginning of your plant journey, it can be so stressful, so heartbreaking. Within 3 to 4 weeks, maybe even less than that, 2 or 3 weeks into starting my plant journey, I got a huge fungus gnat outbreak, and I did not have any sprays or anything to help alleviate that issue. So that is why I am telling you guys now. So some of the things that I consider very important are neem oil, whether it's the concentrate or the ready-to-use spray, hydrogen peroxide, dish soap, make sure it's the fragrance-free kind. I like your standard Dr. Bronner's soap, 70% alcohol, and a spray bottle. Now, again, I can make a whole separate video about this. These 5 different products are very much needed to make sure that your plants stay healthy. When you get a plant from wherever it came from, you really want to, I'll just touch on this, you really want to isolate it because it may have mealybugs, spider mites, fungus gnats. You never know what could be lurking around in the petioles, behind the leaves, in the soil themselves. And if you immediately take that new plant with the rest of your collection, that's how outbreaks occur. So spraying some neem oil or making your own spray with the dish soap, hydrogen peroxide, etc. will be a great way to minimize any type of outbreak. Now, the last category that I want to talk about, this is something that you don't have to budget. Well, it's good to budget for in the beginning, but it isn't an expense that you'll have to worry about right then and there. It's all the products that you'll need for repotting. If you just bought your plants, you will probably not need to worry about this for the next few weeks, few months, and so forth until your specific plants outgrow its pot, or you can tell that the soil substrate isn't that great. But it is something that you will have to do in the future. You'll need a repot mat. You'll probably need some plastic bins to put your substrate in, gloves, shovels, and of course there are certain things you can do in the beginning stages, like just getting a trash bag or household bowls and bins that you have already and dedicating that. So there are workarounds to this, of course, but that is just something that I want you guys to keep in mind. And for soil, you guys know I love my repots. I love making my own soil. I do have like 5 different mediums that I put into my soil substrate. You do not have to do that if you're a beginner. I would probably just do some cactus and succulent soil because it usually has a little bit of perlite in it, and then get some orchid bark. Probably do like a 50-50 ratio, and that's just good to start off with. But you really want to budget for that and just keep that in the back of your mind. Now, there is one last thing that I want to say within this whole tip of making a budget. I know I have talked a lot about this one, but it is so important, and that is know what you are willing to spend for your future plant expenditures, okay? Because in this day and age, plant obsession is real, instant gratification is real, wanting to get those trendy, commercially uncommon and rare plants are so real, guys. Like, it is, like, it's such a thing. All of these things are huge and very relevant to what's happening right now in this hobby. So if there is a particular plant that you want, know what you're willing to spend and make a budget for it. Let's say you want a philodendron varicosum and you don't want to spend any more than $80 on it. Stick to that. A time will come where you'll be able to get a plant for $80. Be patient. If for some reason you're seeing varicosum cuttings that are in your budget, but you really want a full rooted plant, then you have to determine what's more important to you. If you're really strapped for money, then maybe just going with the cutting first is the best route. Or if you do have the means, save up a little bit more. But please, guys, with all the purges and auctions going on, just know how much you're willing to save. If there is a huge wish list plant that you want, please, please save your money for it. And I know I went on my spiel, but that is it for tip number 4. And we are talking about our last tip, which is to work your way up to the hard plants. I know, again, it's so tempting when you see all these beautiful aroids or whatever plant variety speaks to you, because there are usually uncommon and rare plants in whatever genus you like. Just for instance, I love my philodendrons, so I'll keep talking about my philodendrons, and I'll talk about my philodendrons and anthurium since they're right here. Those are plants that you have to work your way up towards. Now, there's so many different varieties within those species, right? So if you love philodendrons, start off with a philodendron, Brazil, or a heartleaf philodendron, like I said, that are very common at nurseries. Start with those. Make sure that you can take care of those common philodendrons. Get them under your belt, grow some confidence, wait a few months or whenever you feel like you're ready, and then work your way up to a philodendron varicosum, a philodendron white wizard, white princess, pink princess. It could go on forever, right? That is it for the video, guys. I feel like this is a great way to close it out. If you are starting your plant journey, again, I am so excited for you. I am so happy you clicked on this video. I know some of these tips may be self-explanatory to some people, but I feel like if I made these certain mistakes, then maybe one person out there watching this was probably thinking the same thing, and if I could help at least one person, then this video was all worth it. Just remember, like anything, this hobby is a journey. You are bound to make some mistakes. Just know that it is part of the ride, and just embrace it, learn from it, keep going, and I can't wait to see what your plant babies look like in the future.